A lot of people usually ask YouTubers and other people what is the best item to invest in and how do I pick a good item investment? Well, there are 6 different qualities or factors that you should look into, starting with number 1, functionality. Functionality basically refers to the function of an item and its mods. What does it do? Does it break blocks automatically? Does it collect seeds automatically? Does it give you double jump? Does it give you high jump? Or does it grant you special buffs like double gem drops or increased rate in something? The idea here is that the better and more interesting your item's functionality is, the more better it is as an investment. For example, a cape that allows you to customize its RGB color. It is something that mostly would pique a lot of players' interest, therefore increasing its demand. And with the gradual increase in the interest and demand of the item, the price will eventually go up, which is why it would be a good investment. Number 2, usefulness. Simply put, a useful item is always a good investment, and its usefulness is based on its functionality. However, not all items have interesting functionality. Sometimes it may be just interesting, but it's not particularly useful. You have to know whether this particular item can help you make your gameplay smooth sailing, convenient, or even make you a profit. Popular and common examples of these are mag plants and Raymonds. Number 3, popularity. An item's popularity is a good indicator of a good investment. It can be based on its design, functionality, usefulness, or something else. Popularity plays a major role in creating lots of demand, in which we know with the law of supply and demand, when there is high demand, the item is usually high in price. Though that may not always be the case. Sometimes an item may be high in demand, but maybe also be high in supply, maybe because it is easily obtainable or its crafting recipe is very cheap. Or there are certain instances where an item might be popular and then after a short while, it loses its popularity and relevance, which means the popularity factor may sometimes only play with short-term investments only. Number 4, supply. An item supply is very important. In fact, it's actually one of the things that you should look after its usefulness. Items with a limited supply are generally good investments, mainly because players see them as an investment opportunity, which then increases its demand, especially on the first time when it's released. Therefore, their prices may skyrocket over time as inflation grows, especially items that are used for quests that are limited in supply, like Phoenix Wings and Neptune items. They only release 500 of them per year that they are released. And coming hand in hand with supply, as I just said, number 5, demand. Yes, I could have talked about supply and demand as a whole, however, they're kind of 2 separate things. Sometimes an item can be limited in supply but not necessarily high in demand. Demand is actually the biggest factor in the rising prices of items, which means it is the most important quality that you should look for. As I explained earlier, an item with a low supply but is really high in demand regardless of its functionality or whatsoever because it's used in a quest is a very good investment. Let's take an item for example. Unagi hair. Unagi hair is a cheap looking item that you thought would probably cost like 5 world blocks or 3 world blocks or even a world block. But surprisingly, they're actually so expensive. But why? Because they're used for marvelous mission quests. And to everyone's knowledge, it's extremely limited in supply. But why? Because it's only obtainable during Anniversary Week, which only comes once a year. But now since Anniversary Week has started or has already passed by the time this video is uploaded, maybe its price will drop because the supply is increasing back again. And lastly, number 6, previous trends. A trend is commonly referred to the development in an item's price. If you've seen like one of these graphs, for example here in Growtopia, then that is what you call a trend. This is quite optional because there isn't really a lot of available data out there other than Growtopia, which is mostly outdated due to the lack of editors working for them. But analyzing previous trends can help you a lot, mainly because it can give you an upper hand advantage. So if you know any past history about a particular item, then that is good. That's a good starting point. For example, once upon a time, the mag plant's price dipped a lot, multiple times, but whenever it dipped, it would recover like a few months later. And with your knowledge of the past history of mag plant, it could basically imply that no matter what happens to mag plants, it will always recover in price and it will always rise and rise and rise. That's just an example, okay? That's just an example. Another example would be seasonal items, which is actually quite a common practice. Like, which of these items in Valentine's or Halloween or other annual events might rise before, during, and after the event? Okay, there are times where we can't really tell any of these, especially when an item is new. No one knows its exact popularity, supply, demand, and trends yet. Okay, but this is what makes picking new items interesting. It's that you get to predict its price for yourself. One of the most important skills that every investor must possess is the ability to tell an item's potential, which admittedly I don't even have that. But here's what I think you should look at when analyzing a new item's potential: its functionality, obtainability, and design. And then you begin to formulate questions that will eventually lead to more questions and lead to more questions. For example, how will these three things affect an item's supply and demand? Or will this item be popular in the future? Or will players want to get this item, and why? One last thing that I want to add is to always seek out an item's purpose. For example, if the item is suddenly required in a marvelous mission quest or a legendary quest, which is often very high value, then chances are everyone's gonna seek out for that item because they need that item for their quests. So yeah, just remember that your knowledge and intuition are the most important assets that you have in investing. You have to think smart. But you know what is smart? Yeah, subscribing to me. It's a worthwhile investment, I guarantee you.